Saturday started off like any other. The sun came through the blinds in stripes, the kind of soft light that usually meant a slow morning and pancakes. But the bed was empty beside me. Kayla had left early, claiming she had her usual yoga session. No kiss goodbye, just a text, didn't want to wake you. Be back before lunch. Love you. That kind of thing used to feel sweet. Lately, it just felt thin. Like a script. Later that evening, I decided to set up her home projector in the den, something I'd been meaning to do for weeks. Kayla was still out, apparently catching up with co-workers over dinner. Work people, she said. She wore a sleek navy dress I hadn't seen before. Something about it didn't sit right with me, but I let it go. While organizing the media files from an old hard drive, I came across a folder labeled backup_SD_CAM. I almost skipped it, probably just boring security cam footage from when I was testing out the motion sensors in the hallway. But when I clicked play, everything changed. The hallway camera flickered to life. I saw the entryway, same lighting, same decor, just from a few nights ago. And then Kayla appeared. Same navy dress. She wasn't alone. A man followed close behind her. He didn't hesitate. He pulled her in and kissed her right there in her hallway. Their kiss was long. Familiar. I froze. I didn't even blink. She smiled at him. That specific smile she used to give me when she thought I was being charming. Then she whispered something and led him down the hall toward our bedroom. I sat there staring at the screen, not even sure if I was breathing. When she got home that night, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked her, calmly, "Hey, weird question, is this an old video?" She looked at the screen, tilted her head, then scoffed. "Oh my God, that's ancient. I think that was, like, before we even moved in." She laughed. Then she grabbed the remote and turned the projector off like it was nothing. No explanation. No names. No flinch. Just dismissal. And for some reason, that broke me more than the kiss. I needed to get out of the house. After the projector incident, Kayla acted like nothing happened. She was humming in the kitchen the next morning, making French press coffee and toasting sourdough like our lives hadn't just cracked wide open. She even kissed me on the cheek, soft and quick, the same way she used to when we first moved in together. But it wasn't the same. It was like watching someone perform a version of my wife. I didn't say a word. Just nodded, took my keys, and drove out to my brother Jake's place about 40 minutes outside the city. He and I don't talk much, too different, too many old wounds, but he's got this cabin that sits on a quiet hill surrounded by pines. I just needed somewhere silent. Somewhere that didn't smell like her. When I got there, he wasn't home. Probably on a job site or out fishing. He told me to use the spare key anytime, so I let myself in and sank into the old recliner in his den. No TV, no music, no distractions, just the hum of my thoughts pressing in on me like a freight train. And that's when it started. Memories. Not sharp, not cinematic. Just little things. Disconnected. Floating. But now in the quiet, they began to click together. There was the night last spring when Kayla didn't come home until almost 3 a.m. She said her boss had kept her 4 networking drinks. She smelled like gin and something floral, not her usual scent. I remember reaching for her and getting the cold shoulder. She said she was tired. I believed her. Then there were the computer crashes. Twice, maybe 3 times. Always right before she had to leave town for some work conference or team building retreat. I'd come in from the studio to find her frantically wiping her laptop, saying the system froze and she needed to reinstall everything. At the time, I didn't think much of it. She worked in communications, those things happened. Or so I told myself. And that damn cologne. Once, after one of her trips, I went to grab a hoodie from her suitcase and the smell hit me so hard I had to sit down. It wasn't mine. It wasn't even subtle. It smelled expensive, masculine, and out of place. She claimed it was from an Uber driver, that the car had reeked of it. I remember laughing. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. I've forgotten that moment until now. But what hit me hardest was something she said about a year ago. We were lying in bed, half asleep, and I remember her voice breaking the stillness like a whisper of static. It was just one night. I asked her what she meant. She laughed, said she was talking about a dream. "You ever have one of those dreams where you cheat on me?" she asked. "And it feels so real you wake up feeling guilty?" I didn't. I said no. She said, "Lucky you." And now, that sentence, "it was just one night," it didn't feel like a dream confession anymore. It felt like a slip. A moment her subconscious tried to shake off. I felt the walls around my memory beginning to collapse. Things I had buried or brushed aside were clawing their way to the surface. She used to guard her phone like it was a diary. Face down on the table. Turned away when charging. One time I picked it up by mistake. Same case as mine, and she snatched it from my hand like I was holding a live grenade. Jesus, Travis, boundaries? She'd said. Boundaries. Yeah. Hers were a fortress. Mine were open fields. And the more I thought about it, the more the inconsistencies built. The way she started calling me babe again after fights. Not because we'd made up, but because it distracted me. How she'd randomly bring home gifts or my favorite snacks on weeks where she'd barely spoken to me. It was like she was playing both sides, appeasing the guilt while maintaining the lie. One memory finally cracked me. It was a night we were supposed to go out to dinner. Someplace fancy. A reservation I had to make 3 weeks ahead. I came home from work and found her already dressed up, but not in what I expected. She was wearing a cocktail dress I'd never seen before, red with these thin gold chains across the shoulders. Her hair was curled in a way she never did for me. She looked surprised to see me. "Oh," she said, trying to recover. "I thought you said 8:30? No, 7 o'clock. I texted you." She checked her phone. "Weird. I didn't see it. I guess I'll just change." But she didn't change. She just added a blazer and asked if we could do something more casual instead. Said she wasn't in the mood for fine dining. I shrugged it off back then. I was tired. I didn't want to argue. But now, in Jake's cabin, with the sound of wind brushing the windows and my heartbeat echoing in my ears, I realized what had happened. That wasn't her getting ready for our date. That was her coming home from someone else's. I felt sick, physically nauseous. I went outside, leaned over the railing of the back porch, and threw up. My body was rejecting the truth I'd finally started to accept. She had been doing this for a long time, and I had been a fool. But I wasn't going to keep being one. That's when I decided I needed proof. Not just memories, not just gut feelings. Cold, undeniable proof. Because if I confronted her again, I needed to be ready. I wasn't walking into another gaslighting session. I wasn't letting her laugh it off or minimize it or twist it back on me. So I picked up my phone and called someone I hadn't talked to in years. Mason. We used to work together back when I did freelance industrial design for security firms. He used to handle asset recovery and investigations, basically, a PI who knew how to find things most people couldn't. I explained the situation as calmly as I could. There was a pause. Then his voice came through low and steady. "I'll take care of it. I'll need a photo of her, a plate number, and any travel plans you know about. Give me 48 hours. That was all he said. And for the first time in days, I felt the faintest flicker of control return. Not peace, not closure, but direction. And when you're drowning in betrayal, even direction feels like a breath of air. 48 hours later, the truth came in a manila folder. I met Mason at a diner just off I-84, one of those old trucker joints with burnt coffee and a jukebox that only plays 70s rock. He slid into the booth across from me without so much as a nod. He didn't need to say anything. The envelope in his hand did all the talking. "This everything?" I asked, my voice quiet but tight. He nodded once. Time-stamped, cross-checked with her phone activity. "You're not crazy, Travis." I didn't open it right away. My fingers hovered over the tab like it was a live wire. Deep down, I already knew what I was about to see. I just needed it confirmed, like a diagnosis after months of symptoms. "Anything you want to say before I look?" I asked. "Only this," Mason said, leaning forward. "Don't let her talk her way out of it. What you'll see in there, it's not open to interpretation." I opened the folder. The first image hit me like a freight train. Kayla, outside a motel just off Route 30, leaning in to kiss a man. Not a coworker, not some random, a guy I'd never seen before, but he wasn't a stranger to her. You could tell by the way she touched his face. Familiar, confident, not the way you kiss someone you're unsure about. No hesitation. She was wearing the same gray trench coat she'd left the house in that evening, claiming she had a client dinner across town. I remembered the smell of her perfume when she passed me on the way out. I even complimented her. "You look incredible," I'd said. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and told me not to wait up. Another photo, this one showing them checking into the motel. 2 people, 1 room. The timestamp matched the night of her work event. I flipped the page. Printout of a receipt. Double occupancy. Paid in cash. Under the room number, someone had scribbled a name, rehab session. Mason must have gotten that from the motel's sign-in log. Next page, zoomed in photos of the guy. Square jaw, maybe mid-30s, in athletic gear. A duffel bag slung over his shoulder. Then a screensh *T from a local gym's website. Staff profile. Darren McConnell, certified personal trainer. Specializes in post-surgical recovery plans and strength training. I remembered then. Kayla's physical therapy. She'd twisted her knee during a hiking trip 6 months ago. Claimed she didn't trust the standard clinics. Said she was doing rehab the holistic way, with a one-on-one fitness trainer. Someone who works outside the system, she told me. More intuitive, right? Turns out Darren had been rehabilitating her more thoroughly than I thought. I flipped through the rest of the pages with clinical detachment. There were more photos, her hand on his thigh in a parked car, him adjusting her necklace in broad daylight, her laughing with her head tilted back, like I hadn't seen in months, maybe years. One page was a log of dates. Each one matched a night she had a reason to be late, a trip to visit her sister, a women's leadership summit. Always vague, always out of reach. Mason had charted them side by side with Darren's gym schedule, GPS pings from her phone, and even public parking records. The overlap was staggering. There was no room for doubt, no wiggle words, no excuses she could package with a bow and toss into my lap. This was the kind of evidence you take to court, or in my case, to war. I closed the folder and leaned back, the weight of it making the table feel smaller somehow. Mason looked at me, his face unreadable. What now? I'm not sure, I said honestly. But I can't keep pretending. He nodded. You want me to keep watching them? No, I said quickly. This is enough. It was more than enough. I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat like a passenger I didn't invite. The whole drive, I didn't turn on the radio. Didn't call anyone. I just listened to the sound of my tires humming against the asphalt, wondering how long it had taken her to become someone I didn't recognize. By the time I got home, it was almost 10:30. The lights were off except for the soft glow under the door of her office. I stood there for a second before pushing it open. She was at her desk, in sweats now, hair tied up, typing away like she hadn't just detonated our life. Hey, she said, barely glancing at me. You okay? You've been out all night. I didn't answer. I just placed the folder on her keyboard. She looked down at it, confused. What's this? Open it. She hesitated, probably calculating whether to fake confusion or lean into indignation. In the end, she chose curiosity. She opened it. Her eyes scanned the first photo, and her whole body changed. She stiffened. Her mouth parted slightly, like a word got stuck behind her teeth. She turned the page. Then another. By the fourth image, her hands were shaking. Where, how? She started. I interrupted. Who is he, Kayla? She closed the folder, her expression shifting to something halfway between shame and fury. You hired someone to follow me? I needed the truth, I said. You weren't giving it to me. Her eyes welled up. It's not what you think. Don't, I snapped. Don't insult both of us. It's exactly what I think. Unless you're about to tell me there's a second Kayla out there who happens to dress like you, kiss strangers in parking lots, and books motels for rehab sessions. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. Stop. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to make one thing clear. She stayed silent. I know everything now. There's no talking around it, no manipulating, no pushing blame. I see you. I finally see you. She looked down at the folder again like it might vanish if she stared long enough. I stepped back. You don't have to explain. You already did that with your actions. And with that, I left the room. I went to the guest room and locked the door behind me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was under her spell. I felt heartbreak, yes, but also something close to clarity. The next day, she was gone before I woke up. A post-it on the kitchen table. We'll talk tonight. I swear. I just need time to think. But I didn't need to talk. I didn't need to hear her list the reasons, the justifications, the stories she'd crafted like wallpaper to hide the cracks. I had the proof. And more importantly, I had my decision. The man I was 2 weeks ago would have waited, tried to fix it, asked what I'd done wrong. But that man was gone. And in his place stood someone ready to reclaim his life. The night after the folder, I expected some kind of apology. Maybe a breakdown, a confession, a plea. What I didn't expect was war. Kayla came home a little after 7 p.m., walking through the door like it was just another Tuesday. No visible shame, no tears, no defensiveness. She was calm. Composed. Too composed. That was the first red flag. She walked into the kitchen where I was making coffee decaf because sleep had become impossible and leaned against the counter like she didn't just shatter everything between us. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice almost rehearsed. I gave a slow nod. "Sure. I just want to say, I'm sorry you felt the need to hire someone," she began. "Not I'm sorry I cheated. Not I regret what I did. Just sorry you felt." She was framing it like the problem was my reaction, not her actions. Gaslighting 101. "I didn't feel the need," I replied. "You gave me no choice." She ignored that. "I've been under so much pressure lately. Between work, my recovery, trying to keep things balanced between us, it's been a lot. And Darren, he helped me with that. Not just physically. Emotionally. He saw me. There it was. The classic 'he made me feel seen' line. Like betrayal becomes noble if it's poetic enough. "I saw you too, Kayla," I said. "You just stopped looking back." She paused, eyes tightening. Then she pivoted. "I don't want to get into blame. I think we both know this marriage hasn't been ideal for a while. Maybe we grew apart. Maybe it's nobody's fault." Another deflection. Equating months of deception to growing apart. But I kept calm. I wasn't playing her game. "What's your end goal here?" I asked. "I think we need space," she said. "Time to breathe. Maybe stay with my sister for a bit. Sort through our stuff like adults. No drama." I nodded. "Okay." She blinked like she hadn't expected me to agree so easily. "That's it?" she asked. "Yeah, that's it." But it wasn't. Not by a long sh*t. The next morning, things escalated fast. I woke up to 3 missed calls from my mother, 2 emails flagged urgent from a client, and a voicemail from Jake. All of them asking the same thing in different ways. "Are you okay? What the hell is going on? Why is Kayla saying you've been spying on her?" Turns out while I slept, Kayla got to work. She'd called my parents. Told them I'd been installing hidden cameras. That I was mentally unstable. Paranoid, she called it. Said I was obsessed with proving she was cheating when she'd only ever gone to physical therapy. She even told them I hired someone to stalk her. I checked the timestamp on the call. 3:12 a.m. She was proactive. Then came the emails from 2 design clients I'd been working with for months. One of them forwarded me a message that had been sent from a burner Gmail address, an anonymous tip warning them that I was struggling emotionally and unreliable due to personal issues. The wording was careful, subtle, enough to raise doubts but not enough to be considered libel. Classic Kayla. I knew it was her. Nobody else had access to those client names except me and her. When I finally confronted her, she didn't even deny it. "I needed to protect myself," she said, folding laundry like we were discussing the weather. "You hired a PI, Travis. That's not normal. You've been erratic." My sister agrees. She said if things get worse, I should file a restraining order. My jaw clenched. "You cheated, Kayla. And now you're unraveling," she snapped back, eyes flaring with something fierce and cold. "You're spiraling and it's affecting your work. Your reputation. I warned you." That word, warned, hit harder than anything else she'd said. That's when I realized this wasn't about guilt. This wasn't her trying to make amends. This was strategy. She wasn't playing defense. She was going on offense. Trying to poison the well before I could tell my side of the story. She was leveraging confusion. Discrediting me. Making me out to be unstable so that when the truth came out, people would hesitate to believe me. So I pivoted too. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I went silent. Detached. I locked down my email. Moved sensitive client data off shared servers. Disconnected Kayla's admin access to the studio Dropbox, something I should have done months ago. I called a lawyer. Explained everything. Sent over the folder Mason gave me. He called me back 20 minutes later with one sentence. "You need to file first." So I did. That afternoon, I walked into the county clerk's office and filed for divorce. The paperwork included a request for temporary restraining orders on financial activity tied to the business. My lawyer said we had enough to justify it, especially with her selling my character to clients behind my back. I also submitted a request for a court order to freeze all joint accounts pending separation negotiations. By the time I got home, I'd moved most of the business's liquid assets to a protected LLC I created that morning. I left our personal account untouched intentionally. I wanted to see what she'd do next. She didn't disappoint. The very next day, I got a notification. She tried to withdraw $14,200. Labeled it as marketing expenses. The bank flagged it. Froze the transaction. My lawyer got the alert before I did. That same night, she came home late, her voice brittle with sarcasm. So now you're freezing accounts? I'm protecting my work, I said. I thought we agreed to handle this like adults. You fired the first sh*t, I reminded her. I just stopped pretending I didn't notice. For a second, I thought she was going to hit me. Her eyes went glassy, her fists clenched at her sides. But instead, she stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door, and locked it. Good. She wanted a game? She had one now. The next morning, I began documenting everything. Every email, every transaction, every piece of communication between us. I wasn't going to let her control the narrative. A week later, she tried again, this time contacting one of my studio interns directly, asking if I'd been acting erratic at work. The intern, bless her heart, forwarded the message to me immediately. She said it was urgent, the email read. But honestly, it felt shady. I replied with a simple thank you and sent it straight to my lawyer. 2 days later, I had a judge's signature on a no-contact clause regarding my employees and clients. Any interference with my business would be considered harassment. When I handed Kayla the papers, she looked like someone who'd just seen the chessboard flip. This is worn out, she asked. No, I said. This is survival. I walked out of the house that night and didn't come back until the next morning. Slept in the studio on an old drafting couch. When I woke up, I realized I hadn't had a nightmare for the first time in weeks. The silence felt like a blessing. I was no longer reacting. I was reclaiming. And something in me, something I thought she'd led, was waking back up. The gallery call came on a Wednesday morning, just after I finished a client walkthrough for a new mid-century renovation. I was finally beginning to get my footing again, eating, sleeping, designing. Then my phone buzzed and that feeling of balance started to wobble. Travis Langley? The man asked. His voice was smooth, polite, educated, like someone who sold abstract expressionist paintings for a living. Yes. This is Vincent Albright. I own the Albright Lane Gallery downtown. Your name came up on a consignment sheet last week and I was hoping to confirm a few details. I frowned. Consignment? I haven't sent anything your way. That's what I thought, he said gently. A woman, Kayla Langley, I assume your wife, brought in several pieces for evaluation. She claimed you'd asked her to handle the drop-off. My stomach sank. What kind of pieces? A few small antiques. A bronze mantel clock, French, late 19th century. A painting. Looks like a childhood portrait. Some ceramic miniatures. All quite personal in nature. We wanted to be sure the provenance was accurate before finalizing any transactions. Don't finalize anything, I said. None of those items were hers to sell. He paused. Understood. I thanked him and ended the call, my hands suddenly clammy. The clock he mentioned, it wasn't just any antique. It belonged to my grandfather, a retirement gift from his railroad company. The painting? A piece my mother commissioned when I was 7. It used to hang in her dining room until she gave it to me the day Kayla and I moved in together. Those weren't just possessions. They were pieces of my identity. And she tried to sell them. That same day, I drove straight home, stormed into the living room, and found her sitting on the couch with a glass of white wine, scrolling on her phone like she hadn't just committed emotional burglary. Where is it? I asked. She looked up startled. Where's what? The mantel clock. The painting. My mother's vase. You know what I'm talking about. Her eyes narrowed. What difference does it make? You're the one filing for divorce. You tried to sell them. She stood up then, arms crossed. They were just things, Travis. Gathering dust. You weren't using them. They weren't yours to use, I said, barely able to keep my voice steady. They're family heirlooms. You had no right. She scoffed. Oh, come on. Don't act like I pawned your kidney. They were sitting in a box in the guest closet. You didn't even notice they were gone. I noticed, I said. You want to take your clothes, your jewelry, even the espresso machine? Fine. But not my history. Not the things that mattered before you. She rolled her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. It was like trying to argue with a wall made of mirrors. Everything I said got flipped and distorted. But I didn't lash out. I just turned, walked into the study, and opened my files. Inventory. Photos. Appraisals. I gathered every document I had on the collection, art, antiques, signed books. All of it. Anything of value that had been in the house when we married, anything that had come from my side, not ours. By midnight, I had a complete spreadsheet ready for my lawyer. The next morning, I filed a motion with the court requesting a temporary injunction to block her from selling, gifting, or transporting any household goods until the divorce was finalized. She tried to argue it in court, claimed she was liquidating shared property because she needed money to pay for a hotel while I locked her out of the finances. The judge didn't buy it, especially after my lawyer presented emails and gallery correspondence with her signature. Her expression when the judge granted the injunction? Priceless. Like someone who finally realized the game she thought she was winning had rules after all. But the damage wasn't done yet. That night, I started going through every storage bin, closet, drawer. I kept finding more things missing, small, sometimes subtle. A vintage compass from my dad's military service. A leather-bound first edition of the Fountainhead he gave me in college. Gone. I called around to a few more galleries. Pawn shops. One of them, a guy named Marquez, said he remembered Kayla vividly. She came in twice. Nice girl. Said she was downsizing after a renovation. Brought in a few unique pieces, signed jazz records, old drafting tools, enamel pins from the 40s. You? Yeah, I said. All of those were mine. Want me to pull receipts? Yes. I collected everything. Photos, names, sale records. Then I matched them against the spreadsheet I had created. It was like unearthing a slow-motion burglary that had been happening right under my nose. A mug missing here. A book vanishing there. Trinkets I hadn't even noticed were gone until the emptiness was pointed out. She didn't just cheat on me. She chipped away at my life one artifact at a time. When I brought it up to her, she shrugged. You were always so sentimental about junk. It's not like you were using any of it. It was mine, I said again, like I was reminding a thief that no, the house you broke into doesn't belong to you just because you rearranged the furniture. That was the week I stopped speaking to her completely. No texts, no notes, no passive-aggressive breakfast silence. Just nothing. She retaliated in petty ways. Left the fridge open slightly to spoil the food. Took the TV remote with her to work. Locked the bathroom door from the inside just to force me to use the one in the basement. It was pathetic, juvenile, but it made one thing clear. She wasn't in this to separate with dignity. She wanted to punish me for finding out, for defending myself, for refusing to let her version of the truth become the official record. So I leaned in. I installed cameras in the shared areas, completely legal under joint occupancy laws. I changed all passwords on my accounts. I moved anything of value to a safety deposit box, then moved that safety deposit box to a different city under a corporate alias. By the end of the week, she couldn't touch anything that mattered. And that's when she started texting again. Long messages. Let's talk. Maybe we're rushing this. Don't throw everything away over a mistake. Followed by guilt trips. I kept your secrets too. You weren't exactly a saint either. Do you think you're going to find someone who understands you like I did? It was almost funny, how quickly she moved from venom to vulnerability once she realized the faucet had turned off. But I didn't reply. Not once. Because the minute I engaged, she'd twist it. She'd find a way to cast herself as the aggrieved party. She'd bait me into saying something emotional so she could screen cap it and cry foul to her attorney. I let her scream into the void while I kept building my future. Quietly, intentionally, she could sell what she wanted. The books, the clocks, the things with tags and price points. But the one thing she never got, and never would, was me. That was the part she underestimated. That I wasn't a man made of just possessions and routines. That beneath the drafts and the blueprints was someone who could burn it all down and still build something better. Because I'd done it before. And this time I wouldn't be doing it with her. The divorce judge froze all assets pending final settlement. That should have scared me, but weirdly it didn't. I had already let go. When an offer came from a Chicago architecture firm, I didn't think twice. I packed what was mine, left the rest, and drove north with nothing but design plans and my name. In the city, I found clarity. I turned a cold industrial loft into a new workspace. My work gained traction, interviews, magazine features, new clients. I wasn't just recovering. I was becoming someone new. The pain was still there, quiet and raw. But so was purpose. 6 months post-divorce. Kayla texted, "Let's talk. I'll return what I sold, just drop the claims." When that didn't work, she escalated to threats. I didn't respond. Not once. I'd said my goodbye in court. My studio grew, my circle strengthened. The life I rebuilt was mine alone. I thought about that night, the hallway video, her lies, her face when she was caught. That wasn't the end. That was the start of something better. Her betrayal didn't destroy me. It freed me. And this time, I wasn't looking back.